Imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up inspired, feel safe wherever they are, and end the day fulfilled by the work that they do. It is an ideal. I know that we will never get there, but we will die trying. That's the point. And so I have met many units within the military and many units that have failed where they are more advanced towards that vision than others. The same in the corporate world. There are some companies that are way, way more advanced in that vision than others. And I think what's most important is the constant striving. We talked before about understanding the infinite game by understanding the idea of constant improvement. And the ones that are making the greatest headways, it's not that they get everything right and make every right decision. They absolutely do not. It's how they deal with when they make bad decisions, or how they deal with it when they get pushed back on their heels. And the idea of constantly improving and accepting that this is a moment in time, now let's move forwards. Those are the ones that I admire. One of the things that I think works very well in the military that I think the private sector could learn from is the military does the after action review, and sometimes the feedback is harsh, very honest. Somebody screwed up, you're going to get told that you screwed up. But even if your ego is a little damaged, the reason it works is because everybody understands that we're doing this so that we can be better, so that the organization can be better, so that we're more likely to succeed in the future. Whereas I think in the private sector, we're so worried about someone's ego or hurting someone's feelings. And by the way, I do not believe that honesty has to be brutal. We talk about brutal honesty. Honesty does not have to be brutal. It just has to be honest. You don't have to say you screwed up, but I know that you can do better than you did today. That's an honest assessment without being brutal. But the point is, I think that in the private sector, we can do a lot better at that. I'll tell you a funny story. So like when I go to a military briefing versus when I go to a corporate presentation, right? At the end of a military briefing, very often the briefer will say, Spears? In other words, right at the end of the briefing, tell me what's wrong. Tell me where I screwed up. Tell me what can be better. Where are the holes in my logic? Tell me where I can improve. Where in the private sector, we give a presentation and we go, pretty good, right? Tell me the places that were good. Tell me the places that you really like, right? And we get defensive when people poke holes. And again, I think the military better understands the idea of constant improvement, which means having thick skin and being open to criticism. And I've learned that. I've learned that in my own work. I crave the criticism now. People are like, oh, that was good, that was great, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Tell me what can be better. I've learned to really enjoy that negative feedback because it means I can be better. And it's delivered from people who aren't trying to hurt me. It's delivered from people who are trying to help me make my work better. So I think that private sector can really learn that from the military. So one of the advantages that private sector has is they have a less strict formal hierarchy. So in the military, you have to work X many years to make each rank, and it's relatively organized by age. If you're older, you're probably more senior. If you're younger, you're probably more junior, and that's pretty much how it is. Whereas in the private sector, if you're truly a talent and truly a go-getter, you can sometimes lead people who are older than you. You can sometimes lead people who have been in the organization or in the industry longer than you. And that's a huge advantage. And I think we're not asking the military to upset the traditional hierarchy. I understand why it works, but I think inviting the smart people to sit at the table that makes a big difference. I'll give you a real life example. It just happens to be another Marine example. I was visiting Camp Pendleton, and there was a young Marine captain, a raider, Special Forces, who was in charge of looking after me. And he was a history major in university. And we just got to talking while we were in the car. And he told me about an experience he had in Iraq, where he was tasked with training and equipping a group of Iraqi soldiers, which is really exciting for a young officer. And so first, let's get everybody a rifle. Great, done. Everybody's got a rifle. He says, okay, now let's get everybody a rucksack. And his Iraqi counterpart said, sorry, there's no rucksacks on base. And the Marine said, no problem. Whoever does your procurement, your requisitions, get some rucks. And the Iraqi counterpart said, no, you don't understand. There's no rucksacks in Iraq, anywhere in the country. And so this young officer said, well, where do you put your water then? And the guy said, you put it in your pockets or on the back of the truck. He goes, okay, let's say the truck's disabled and you run out of water in your pockets. Then what happens? And the guy says, you die. And then this young captain remembered his history, that in the West, the way we fight, our militaries are largely based on Roman theories of fighting, which is long supply lines, supply the forward operating forces. Whereas the Arabs are raiders. They don't have supply lines. They leave in the morning with a day's worth of material, and you fight. And if you win, then you eat the other guy's stuff and drink his water. Or if you lose, you come home. And so here we are in the West trying to undo thousands of years of raider history and turn them into Roman legions. Of course, it wasn't working. And that's because the planners who weren't at the front lines had no idea that this was even happening. And so my question is, I'm not saying make this young captain a colonel, but maybe invite the young captain to sit at the table to advise the colonels. And I think the military can do a better job. If you go to your company grade commanders or above and say, who are your smartest people? They know who they are. Snag those people and let them sit in meetings and advise, because I think that they would offer a point of view that is otherwise missing. A leader who recognizes and rewards feedback is going to encourage more feedback. So if I ask for feedback and say I'm open to it, and then somebody gives it to me and I either defend myself, criticize them, or reject it, then I'm creating an environment in which no one's going to give me feedback, or at least they won't give me honest feedback. They're just going to tell me how great I am. Whereas if somebody gives me negative feedback, I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to agree with it. But if I can encourage it, I go, thank you, tell me more. Go on, yes, thank you. Oh, this is really helpful, thank you. So the leader will create the conditions. And if people can see that happen, if they see a young officer, by the way, there's a difference between respectful and disrespectful feedback, and to maintain esprit de corps and maintain the rank structure, it can be done respectfully. Sir, can I give you some feedback? Yes, you can. Or can we do it later? Or let's do it in my office, right? As opposed to, hey, let me tell you what I think. That's disrespectful because you're not evaluating the situation that maybe that officer, that more senior officer or NCO has in mind. So may I give you some feedback? Asking permission is how it starts. May I give you some feedback? And if they say no, okay, then I know my place, right? But a good leader, a good NCO or a good officer, or even a good soldier, because feedback can go this way as well, will want to receive it and create conditions in which it's welcomed, and then it'll get encouraged. And then what you're doing is you're creating a culture of feedback in which it can go up and down very, very easily. You can also create some formalized systems where it happens, but the informal ones work as well. Can you give me some feedback of how I can improve? Oh, you're great. Well, that's not true. There's always room for improvement. Can you please tell me that? I want that. And again, if the leader asks for it, instead of just waiting to be given it, the leader says, I like some feedback how I can do better, and you create a form for it. In this meeting, we're going to talk about what we as an organization can do better, or how I can do better as a leader. So I want all of your answers. And I've done this with my organization, where when you have those sessions, even if you agree or disagree, even if the leaders are triggered, you're in receiving mode. Go on, tell me more. And if you don't understand, you can ask follow-up questions, but please tell me more. Go on, yes. And it's just taking it all in, right? Then the next day, when people have emptied their buckets, then you can say, okay, yesterday we talked about what we can do better and what I can do better. Now I want to talk about where we can do better and what you think you can do that we can improve this. And now it's all positivity and moving forward because I've had the opportunity in the forum to get all the junk out. So to separate those two, I think it's very important to separate the emptying of the bucket and the looking forwards, because you can't do it in the same meeting. There's too much emotion. But a leader that welcomes it and asks for it and creates form for it, it creates an environment for it.